Welcome back to Up in the Rafters. A new season is here. It's a podcast brought to you by Inside Carolina this basketball season. I'm Taylor Vippolis hosting this, and we're running it back. My guy at the point, joining me as always, national champion, Final Four, most outstanding player, Carolina basketball legend, Joel Berry. Joel, before we get started on the basketball, just how's everything going with you, man? Because we haven't done this since last season, and I have to admit, it's always great to see you.
Man, it's always good to see you. I'm happy that we are here. Basketball season is back. It's like as soon as football season comes around, it's like basketball season is here before you know it. So I'm excited to dive in, man, and get started, and looking forward to the season.
Carolina opens their season with a win against Elon. They win 90-76. Elon led 71-69 with under 7 minutes remaining. Made that game a lot closer than I think a lot of people expected, but UNC finishes the game on a 21-5 run. What were your biggest takeaways watching that game?
Yeah, so I got a couple of things. One, I think you see how much you miss Armando Bacot in the post. That post presence isn't there as it has been the last 5 years. But I mean, Armando got to leave at some point. So we all knew this was coming at some point, and it's happened. And now you see the missing of his presence in the post. But I think what kind of overlooks what is kind of flying under the radar is also Harrison Ingram, how much we miss him too. I mean, just the variability of like the point of attack and what and where how Carolina attacks on the offensive end, I think is kind of guard heavy right now. And I think we saw that. I just looking at the game, I think I can count the amount of post-ups on my hand. And so from 1 year to the next, I mean, it's a huge difference. I think those are the two things that really stand out to me, as not having that guy like a Harrison Ingram at the 4, and then the presence of Armando Bacot being able to establish the paint.
Yeah, you lose Bacot, you lose Ingram, two guys that kind of prefer to play that old man style basketball, backing you down in the post and try to beat you that way. And this is a new look Carolina team, and a lot of it seems to be their reliance on athleticism this year. When you take somebody like Bacot away and you're adding these players who can play above the rim. From game one, what did you see from an athleticism standpoint for this new look Carolina team, where Hubert Davis has emphasized wanting to play faster and pick up the tempo? What were the most encouraging signs that you saw from the athleticism perspective for Carolina?
Well, it's nothing short of athleticism. You can easily see that with obviously Seth Trimble is athletic as all get out, but Ian Jackson, Drake Powell, they are very athletic. It's scary for teams if they allow Carolina to get out in the open floor. And the stretch that kind of made me really see the athleticism and kind of I want to see Carolina play that way is when Drake Powell entered the game and he had a steal, and then they got out on the break, threw it up to Seth Trimble, and then he got another steal and he got out on the break and scored a layup, getting ahead of the defense. I think that's what I want to see from Carolina throughout the season, and see them pressure. When they're pressuring, their defense and that athleticism really comes out. And I think that's promising. Jalen Withers had a couple of moments where you saw the athleticism. And I just think they can – I don't know how you can play faster than what they played last year, but and still stay under control. But that athleticism is something that they have to continue to, especially with not having the presence of a shot blocker up under the rim. I think that athleticism out on the perimeter, Carolina needs to take advantage of that as much as possible on a frequent basis.
And then on that defensive end, you see it in spurts for this team. Mm-hmm. Now it's about putting it together for a complete 40 minutes. Elon in the second half, the reason why they were able to eventually get to a point where they get the lead, they shoot 50% from the field in the second half. What did you see from the Carolina defense that led to Elon getting so much success to shoot 50% from the field?
Well, it's to your point. It's that's those spurts that Carolina had. They need to do that for a whole 40 minutes. Now, that's not realistic, but we saw a team in Elon that got very comfortable, and they started attacking the basket. And once you start getting that confidence, it doesn't matter where you are, mid-major, high D1. Once you have that confidence that you can compete with a team, it shows, and it showed with Elon. And I just think that confidence was there. And then they just started knocking down shots. Now, hats off to Elon, because they hit 13 threes. So they needed those threes, and they hit them at crucial times to be able to keep them in the game, where Carolina kind of was pulling away, and then that three ball came, and it's kind of like it kept them in that zone where they can still have enough time to be able to attack. And I just think the defense is defense for Carolina. But the one thing that scares me is the lack of contesting at the rim. And Elon got to the paint, they got to the free throw line, they got to the basket as much as they wanted to. And that's what's scary, because then that's when the 3-pointers started to fall for Elon.
Yeah, I had that as my next question, actually, and one of the biggest question marks / worries for this Carolina team, that center position, where you have Jalen Washington starting. You miss out on a couple of guys in the transfer portal that you were targeting for the center position, knowing that Armando Bacot was leaving. Carolina brings in Lubin from Vanderbilt to try to help out, but he's not really a starting caliber center right now. He's more of that depth piece behind Jalen Washington. Carolina gets out-rebounded 43, or Carolina wins the rebounding margin 43 to 40. Yeah. So I know it's only one game, but how concerning would you say what you saw from the center position is? And then how much does what Carolina has at the center position kind of maybe cap what could potentially be a special season when you're surrounding them with great players like an RJ Davis?
Yeah, it's a huge concern. And listening to Coach Davis, he said that in the offseason and just leading up to the start of the season, he's been stressing rebound. And that's because he understands the lack of rebounding presence with losing Armando Bacot and even Harrison Ingram. I mean, Harrison Ingram, for a lot of the games in the season, he was out rebounding Armando and had quite a few double doubles because of the rebounding prowess that he brought to Carolina. But it's concerning, man, and that's the concern for me. I know the guards are going to step up, but it's the lack of contesting at the rim, and then the lack of those additional plays that you are losing. Like, having additional offensive possessions really does make a difference. Not only just in that game against Elon, but in these big time games that they have coming up here in the following weeks. So the thing is all of this puts so much pressure on the guards. Now the guards have to really get after it defensively and stay in front of their mans, because it's just there's no contesting at the rim. So that just makes it really hard on your guards to defend. And this is one of the concerns, the biggest concerns that I have for this Carolina offense, is that it's so guard heavy and all the attack is coming from the guard, but there's no presence in the post.
A quick break so I can remind everybody about our friends over at Johnny T-Shirt. If you're going to be in Chapel Hill, you could visit them on Franklin Street. And if not, no worries. You could go online to johnnytshirt.com. Basketball season is here. They have everything that the Carolina fan could possibly want. The hats, the T-shirts, the jerseys, you name it, they've got it. It's great people, great customer service. I'm actually on their website right now, and they're always running great sales. They currently have a temporary sale on Tar Heel sweatshirts, 20% off, through November 8th. And don't forget, Inside Carolina premium subscribers save 10% off their orders. Joel, you mentioned how the lack of bigs kind of puts more of an emphasis on Carolina's guards to step up. And that end of the game, you see that in closeout situations where you have the luxury of having an RJ Davis on your team, that All-American caliber type guard. How do you kind of put into words how big a benefit it is when you're in a close game to be Hubert Davis and just be like, oh, wait, we have RJ Davis. The other team over there, they don't.
It's a luxury. It's a luxury that every single coach tries to find and wants in a within their team. And he stepped up and showed why he was the ACC Player of the Year last year and why he's the preseason pick for the ACC Player of the Year is because he can step up in those moments when Carolina needs him the most and be able to make those plays. But it's also something that is not as big as a concern as the post presence with the front court, but just the scoring, like when teams are keying in, for example, in an Alabama game in the Elite Eight, where he's not scoring at that pace of 21 points per game. Where does the scoring come from? Who has the ability to be able to step up and make those big time shots and kind of calm the storms when you're in those situations? And he was able to do that. Hats off to Elon, and no disrespect to them, but it's Elon. What about the games like on Friday where you go up against a Kansas and the best defender is on RJ Davis? Who's going to score the ball? You're not going to be able to have those times where he can just go off and be the hero and save the day. So being able to have that other guy, Elliott, Seth Trimble, being able to have one of those guys be able to make a play, you have to be able to have that. But, that's we're talking about what already happened, and RJ Davis stepped up in a big moment and showed why he's one of the best players in the country.
Yeah, one of the players that you mentioned for Carolina to potentially be that number 2 behind Davis is Elliott Cadeau, and I think a lot of Carolina fans are hoping to see him take the next step, and part of that next step would be increasing his ability to be a shot maker from the outside, where last season he has 10 threes the entire season. They didn't really look like there was a ton of confidence when he was shooting a three. It felt like teams were just giving him that shot pretty consistently. Was probably the biggest emphasis that he had all offseason. The only thing he heard all offseason was that he had to improve the shot. He opens the Elon game 3 of 4 from 3, where if you ask every Carolina fan, hey, would you sign up for shooting nights like that from Cadeau? They're signing right on the dot and crossing their T's and dotting their I's.
Oh yeah.
What did you see from him? What was there any like noticeable change in his shot, the shot selection? Like why do you think he was able to shoot 75% from 3 after his struggles last year?
Well, that's the off-season grind. I saw the videos over the offseason, and he was putting in the work. So hats off to him for trusting in that work and knocking down those shots. But honestly, I would love to see him shoot more. Only 4 threes. I think there were plenty of situations where you can only drive so many times when you're on the offensive, have an offensive possession, and the later you get in the clock, the more dangerous it gets. And there were a couple of times where, and rightfully so, I mean, he's a playmaker at heart, right? So he wants to be able to find other guys. I don't knock him for that at all, because to be honest, there are a lot of guys who shoot a lot of shots that you want to be a playmaker or to pass the ball. And so having that be his calling card, you want that in a player. But honestly, I would like to see him shoot it a little bit more. I thought there were plenty of opportunities where he could have took the shot. Look, when you're coming back your next year from the freshman to sophomore year, you're usually moving up on the scouting report and taking on a new role. Now he has to shift that mindset of, okay, I don't have Harrison Ingram. I don't have Cormac Ryan. I'm that number 2 guy. I gotta go and I gotta be that guy when RJ Davis is having the best defensive player. I gotta go score. So I think that mentality over the season will it will click for him. But he's the number 2 guy. He has to get it going. So I would like to see him taking more shots. But to your point, 3 for 4, 17 points, 4 for 7 from the field, 8 assists. I'll take a game from Elliot Cadeau like that, but I would like to see more 3-pointers.
Going from that freshman to sophomore season, a lot of the times you hear people say things like the game starts slowing down for you. What do you remember the most from your freshman to sophomore jump about how you kind of approach the game?
Yeah, it's what you hear from the greatest players. It's being able to play that chess match and knowing that, okay, if the defense takes this away, I have a counter of what I should do. That it's not that the game slows down, it's the reads slow down. You're able to read everything better. You have a better understanding of the system where you can kind of know when to attack and say, hey, I can't, the defense didn't react the way that I wanted to. I can't do that right now. So also the decision making speeds up. Now you're able to dissect these plays, like in a quarterback going from, just reading one target to be able to scan and go from each target and see it and process it quickly. You're able to do that from your freshman and sophomore year. But I think Elliot, he does a great job of reading. He did that his freshman year. I mean, one of the best passers in the country as a freshman. I think for him is taking on the role of, okay, you're a passer, but points go up on the board and you have to be that number 2 guy. And we need you to take those shots because when you're being aggressive, it's beneficial for Carolina basketball.
Yeah, and another player I think Carolina fans are hoping to get something out of this season, Cade Tyson, underwhelming debut from the Belmont transfer. He shot 46.5% from 3 last season. His Carolina debut, he goes 1 for 6 from the field, 0 for 3 from 3. What did you see from Cade Tyson in his 16 minutes?
Yeah, I just, there's a jump from Belmont to UNC. And I know Elon is sort of, in a way, a Belmont equivalent when it comes to level of basketball. But you're at Carolina. You have a target on your back. Elon came in with nothing to lose. And I think for Cade, he has to get used to playing at that high level, playing with a target on your back, knowing that it's Carolina basketball. That takes time to really register with you. I think, he has to be that shooter that Carolina needs. He has to be able to spread the floor. And then defensively, he has to be ready to guard. I think one of the things that I noticed was that Elon was kind of, in a way, attacking him defensively. And, that's one of the places where last year Carolina didn't have that problem because they had Harrison Ingram playing that spot. Defenses didn't attack him because he was great defensively. So a little underwhelming for Cade, 2 points, one for 6, 0 for 3 from the 3-point line. But hopefully things will start clicking for him, and he just needs to shoot it. Doesn't need to make it complicated for himself.
From an ego standpoint, is that something you're conscious of in the moment? Like, damn, Elon's had 5 straight possessions, and every time it feels like they're going after me. Like, is that something that you think players are aware of as the game's kind of going on?
Oh yeah, you're aware of it. That's when you get one of the players like, hey, move out of the way. I got it. But they can't. You can't do that. You can't save them all the time. High level basketball, these teams are finding mismatches. It's sort of like the NBA game. They attack mismatches, and that is starting to trickle down into college basketball, where teams they see the weak link and they're going at them. So that's one of the concerns, being at that 3-4 spot is, especially the 4 spot is, you have to be able to guard. And now it's so prevalent in the game where there are 4 guys who can attack off the dribble and being able to initiate the offense. So if they have a weak link at the 4, It's like, hey, let's go ahead and attack that. Now, I'm not sitting here bashing him and saying that he's a weakling, but he has to get those feet moving and be ready to take on that defensive challenge, because teams scout and they're going to see that he might be that guy that they can attack.
The other point you mentioned when you were talking about K. Tyson that I thought was interesting was kind of learning how to play with that target on your back. When you got to Carolina, what do you remember most about that, where it's like, hey, if we lose tonight, it's going to be one of the top stories on SportsCenter. If this guy across from me makes a play, it's going to be the lead on his mixtape. Like, everything you do is kind of under a microscope when you're out of school like Carolina.
Yeah, I mean, guys are people would kill, steal, and to be in your spot. Now, I say that jokingly, but it really is a place where people want to be. Everyone aspires to play at a Carolina, play at a Duke. Some of these blue bloods, Kansas, people love to do that. So if they can't go there and they get a chance to go against it, they're at your heads every single play. So you have to be able to understand that nonchalant and playing soft is not in the play. You got to come with it every single possession, and sometimes it takes time for that to register, and it takes those moments where you feel a little embarrassed. Trust me, Coach Davis, he has no problem with pointing out in scouting reports, hey, that dude's going at you. A lot of people see Coach. I mean, now he's starting to bring his authenticity to the sideline. But I saw that back in the locker room in the film sessions, where he had no problem stopping Coach Williams and saying, "Hey, he's going at you. This is part basketball. He's going at you." I've seen it, so I'm sure Coach has let him know.
Especially with a school like Elon that I'm assuming is recruiting a lot of kids in state that maybe felt like they got overlooked in high school, where a team like North Carolina doesn't even give them the time of day. But speaking of recruiting out of high school, the Carolina 2024 class was the number 5 class in the country, led by 2 5-stars, Ian Jackson and Drake Powell. They combined to go 4 for 15 from the field in their debut. How would you evaluate the performances you saw from both Jackson and Powell and what they can kind of bring to this Carolina team?
I like their competitiveness. I like how, it seems you can tell they want to be involved and they want to get after it every single play. What I liked about it is their game is that they didn't force anything. I thought Drake and Ian made some really good plays. Really high IQ plays, on a swing pass, not swinging it too quick where the defender is hopping into the passing lane. They're kind of taking their time. So you can tell that progression of plays and is clicking for them. I think for them, they have a luxury of having some older guys around them where they don't have to take on the offensive prowess and have to score the ball. They can feed off of those guys. But, it takes time, man. Sometimes the biggest thing about going into your freshman year and getting those significant minutes is that fine line of like not wanting to step on toes and take away from guys like RJ and Elliott and Seth, but also at the same time, like taking that initiative and being aggressive. It's hard and it's challenging as a freshman to do that. And you can kind of tell like they want to go, but they don't. So that little hesitancy is you can see it at times. But I thought they came in and played with some great energy and competitiveness, which is what you want to see.
All right, let's take a quick break so I can remind everybody about our friends over at Congruity. Congruity is the leading provider for Tar Heel business owners, payroll, HR, and employee benefit needs. Inside Carolina listeners can get a free payroll and HR assessment by emailing Matt at Congruity. Email is matt@congruityhr.com. That email again is matt@congruityhr.com. All right, let's get back to the episode. Next up for Carolina is a trip to Allen Fieldhouse, which is widely considered one of the toughest places to play in the country. You have experience, your freshman season, you play at Kentucky, you play at Indiana eventually, which is I heard that place was shaking during warmups.
Yeah.
What's the best advice you could give to this team as they are getting ready to play in such a hostile environment where a game can really spiral out of control fast if you're not careful?
Yeah, the one thing in warm-ups and leading up to the game, you just got to keep it a normal game. It's so easy to let the hype kind of exhaust some of that energy that you have pent up. So you gotta find a way to be able to just control it in those moments. And then I think in the course of a game, the biggest thing and what I remember being on the road is not allowing teams to have those like spurtability moments where they're having the momentum and getting the crowd involved. Like keeping the crowd out of it is a huge factor because as a home team, you realize like in the Smith Center when the fans sense like, all right, we need to get involved somehow. The sixth man is real, and they start cheering. They get on their feet, and they're cheering. You want to be able to eliminate that as much as possible. But going into a place like Allen, which I don't have any experience, and why is that? Everyone knows Coach Williams never wanted to go there. It was too hard for his emotions, which I kind of understand. But selfishly, I wish I had that chance. But it's the second time ever that Carolina's going in there. I think the last time was in 1960, and Carolina actually took the dub. I think the score was 78-70. You can maybe check me on that one, but I think I remember that. So second time ever. I think the biggest thing, like I said, is just trying to control the crowd and not allowing the other team to be able to make those runs.
Did you see Coach Williams said, "I'm not going to Allen Fieldhouse"?
Yeah, I might need to text him about that one. I'm like, Coach, I need to tell him, Coach, look, man, what's going on? You got soft on us, man. You getting a little soft on us. That retirement must be treating him well, where you can be a little soft around the edges now.
I think his logic was like, I would go there to cheer for Carolina, and I don't want to clap for Carolina in Allen Fieldhouse, a place that he has a ton of respect for. But
does he realize he's not coaching anymore? Come on, Coach.
At the same time, one of the schools you won national championships at, one of the schools is your alma mater. Like it's okay. It's okay to show up in there with a Carolina pullover. I don't think any Kansas fans would give him a hard time over that.
Look, it's the era of the transfer portal. Why does he care? Like there are guys that are leaving and playing playing against the school and going into the home crowd all the time now. Coach, you can do it. I need to check on him, see if he's all right.
I do. We do have to commend him a bit and give him some props for his loyalty to be this removed from Kansas and still consider himself a Jayhawk and a Tar Heel at heart. But
I get it.
This is going to be a challenging game for Carolina. Currently on DraftKings, they're a 7-point underdog, plus 240 on the money line. So a pretty sizable underdog. How does this Carolina team match up to Kansas, and where are some of their biggest challenges, and where are some of the places where Carolina can potentially exploit Kansas if they are to go in there and pull off the upset?
Yeah, a lot of firepower in this game. I will go to say that you got two of the best passers in the country in Elliot Cadeau and DeJuan Harris. You got probably one of the best big men in the country in Hunter Dickerson for Kansas. So I think looking at the Elon game, I saw a lot of post-up opportunities that Elon took advantage of, and Hunter Dickinson will probably take advantage of that. And if people don't know about Bill Self, he is a mastermind when it comes down to getting his bigs open and taking advantage of that. And I can't go without saying that KJ Adams is going to give Carolina a lot of problems. That guy is as chiseled as it gets. Looks like a modern day Julius Pepper out on the floor for the Carolina folks. But this dude in the short roll is pretty good. He can make plays out of that 4 spot and is physical as all get out. So between Hunter Dickerson and KJ Adams, that's where my concern is in them attacking the paint, especially with the way that Bill Self likes to utilize his bigs in that high-low action and getting Hunter Dickerson open down on the block. That is my concern. But guard-wise, I think they match up pretty well.
It's going to be a fun one, and these are the matchups that make early season college basketball so fun when you have the number 9 team in the country going to the number 1 team in the country in Kansas. But that tip-off Friday, 7 p.m. Eastern, ESPN2, the game will be on. We will be back next week to break it all down when it comes to Carolina basketball. Joel, man, great to see you again. Appreciate the time and appreciate everybody watching and listening.
Yes, sir. Happy to be back. Let's do it.